Hello there ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to a Guild Wars 2 Online PvP strategy analysis video. Today we've got a ranger build that's a little bit different. It's for holding down points and also intercepting players. So you can kind of use it to skirmish, but rather than making kills, you're going to distract multiple opponents because you're really hard to kill with this build. It's more of a pug sort of game for the 8v8 rather than the 5v5. Of course it can be viable in 5v5, but you want to use it more as a point defender in those games. So weapon set wise, we've got dual axes in one weapon set. So this is the weapon set you have to have for this build really. Whirling defense is absolutely vital, and then you've also got the shield effect on there, which really helps as well with tanking because it means they can't attack you with so many skills quite as quickly. Next up, we've got the Great Sword. The Great Sword you can swap out for something else if you prefer. Maybe the Longbow is also another viable option. But the reason I chose it mainly is for swoop, to give you some more mobility. You've got the daze/stun on Hilt Bash, a knockback there, and you've also got the bleeding effect there, which is just a nice little bonus you can have to do a little bit of extra condition damage. For our healing skill, we've got the Healing Spring. This is really important, and we'll go into why in a moment. Utility skills, lightning reflexes, stun break, and it also gives us vigor, so our endurance regeneration is sped up. We've got stone spirit, this gives us some protection, and then protect me as our shout. This gives us 6 seconds where our pet takes the damage instead of us. Lastly, we've got spirit of nature for the elite skill. Pet wise, we've gone with the brown bear and the polar bear. This is basically just meat shields. You can really pick anything, but we chose these mainly to make a great little meat shield to take some damage from us. So, as far as the armour sets go, we're running the Superior Variant of Holbrook in our armour. This gives us power, is the main stat, and it also gives us 20% might duration, 5% chance to gain might for 20 seconds while hit, and minus 20% condition duration applied to you. You're taking it mainly for the condition duration reduction. 20% is quite a lot, so that's very helpful to have that as well, and getting a bit of might helps as well, because this is mainly a power-based build. Like I said, we've already got the weapon sets, but we'll tell you what's in them. We've got the Sigil of Superior Energy in the Great Sword, and that's also in the Axe. And then the other Axe, we've got the Sigil of Superior Leeching. Basically means when you're swapping weapons, you can dodge a bit more. And we've also got, of course, the Vigor from Lightning Reflexes. So basically, it's giving a dodge quite a lot with this build. For our Amulet, we've got the Cleric's Amulet. This gives us a lot of healing power. So we can check out here, we've got over 1,000 healing power there, and we've got quite a lot of regular damage there. We've not much condition damage, but we've got quite a lot of power. So that's where our main damage is going to come from. But this isn't really a build you're going to be running for killing people, it's more just for tanking and taking a lot of damage. Trait wise, we've gone 0, 0, 30, 30, 10. Wilderness Survival, in here we've chosen Vigorous Renewal, gain Vigor when using a healing skill, so this gives us some more dodges of course. And that's really, really important because we've got the Q here. So let me just trigger it and I'll show you how this works. Of course, we get the Vigor there and the regeneration. But then every time the regeneration kicks back in from a pulse from the hill, you get Vigor again. So this basically means we have a constant stack of Vigor up while inside of our healing aura from the healing spring. And lasts for 15 seconds. So that's 15 seconds of having Vigor there. We've also got 13 seconds of having it there. So that's very, very useful to have that on hand. Next up, we've got Oak Heart Salve. Gain regeneration for 5 seconds when you suffer bleeding, burning, or poison. Just another tanky sort of trait taken there. And then Bark Skin, so you take 30% less damage when you're under 25% HP to make you harder to finish off. This build also gives you a lot of toughness in there. A bit of condition damage you don't really need, but the toughness obviously is the most vital part of this. Next up, we've got Nature Magic. This is all about buffing up the Stone Spirit skill and our elite skill, the Spirit of Nature. So we've gone for Vigorous Spirits, because the Spirit's twice as much HP, so they're harder to kill. Spirit bonuses a 50% chance better at providing their benefits. That gets up to 35% chance of applying, which is obviously really useful because it's going to trigger more often. We're going to get more protection and be harder to kill. And then last up, Spirits can follow you, so they can move around because they're just stuck somewhere. It makes it a little bit difficult to be travelling around the map. Of course, it's fine to have them stuck somewhere if you're just staying on a point. And then if you're going to do that, you could swap it out for dodging, removes blind and poison from you, which is useful. But I personally prefer having this down and move you because it gives you a bit more options. Lastly, we've gone Beast Mastery. It's given us a bit of healing extra in here, which is important. And we've just gone for the Shouts Recharge, 20% faster to get more Protect Me casts. So that's the basics of the build, and we're getting into a gameplay now. So you can see at the start of this, we've swapped out the Warhorn with our axe. This basically means we can trigger the number 5 skill on the Warhorn to get a speed boost to help us move around the map a little bit quicker before swapping back to our axe before we enter combat. I would advise any ranger to be doing that at all times. Every time you're out of combat and you've got a chance, swap out to a Warhorn, give yourself the boost. It also works great as you're going just before combat as well, because you're getting the buffs from it while you're starting the fight. So we're over here at the Chieftain at the moment. This build isn't really designed to be killing bosses, but you can do it. It just takes quite a long time. But this really we just do is starting the boss so our teammates can help bring it down quicker, so we can get up to the keep a bit faster, because that's quite important with this build, is you want to be engaging at the keep just before the enemy team. So we just got that boss about 4 or 5 seconds before they did, which is all you really need. You just got to rush up here, switch out to the Warhorn again there you just saw to get ourselves up a bit quicker. Summon up our Stone Spirit before we get into combat. So now we're going to engage and try to stop them from getting on point while our teammates cap it. So we've got 3 players now from the red team, so you're going to see how tanky this build can be. We've lost our Stone Spirit, but we have summoned up our Elite Spirit. Hitting Protect Me there, so we're going to take no damage. Our pet's going to be absorbing the damage for us, giving us a chance to just tank a little bit and get our heal up, and just try and keep vigour on ourselves now. We've got to try and stay within the healing circle though, and that can be an issue with this build. Whirling Defense there, trying to stop any projectiles that might be coming in. It doesn't look like one of them tried to engage on point, but we've got some of our own players there anyway. We've been pressured a little bit too hard. We're now going to fall back onto the point, get some support from our teammates, and try not to go down. So you're just seeing, even though we're on fairly low HP, because we get the damage reduction trait when we're on low HP, as well as our increased toughness and stuff, we're quite tanky. So we're in the down state at the moment. This is just generally an annoying place to be. Not much to really commentate on. We're trying to revive ourselves and just trying to see the enemy, trying to get some support from our teammates. Hitting our number 2 skill there, stunning them. So our teammates are doing a fantastic job of keeping us alive. So good teamwork, even though this is just a pug game. So we come back up and we've instantly got our Stone Spirit back up, getting some CC on that player there. So you can see this build does still whack out a little bit of damage, but it's nowhere near as much as you're going to get from like a burst or a condition damage build. But you can definitely survive and you can beat players 1v1. It just takes a really long time generally, unless they're running some sort of squishy elementalist build or something like that you can tear through quite quickly. So we're heading out now to try and just intercept some of the enemies. So we're going to head towards the henge and try to make an interception on the beach, I'm guessing, at the moment. By the way, this is actually me playing, so I do excuse the sort of mediocre gameplay. I'm definitely not the best player in the world at all. I just tend to know quite a bit about the game and like to talk about it, really. So we've got an Elementalist 1v1 here now. So you're going to see this build, how it can actually win a 1v1 fight. Trying to just DD with the axe for the minute, just gives us a little bit more mobility. Seems to be getting distracted by our pet. I'm not quite sure what this ranger was, this elementalist was really thinking there. So there's not really a great deal to commentate on, except that you can just see that this really isn't dealing any damage to us. We've yet to trigger our heal, we're not even down to 50% HP. Obviously they weren't targeting us for a lot of the time in that fight, but yeah, it's just an easy victory. So we've got another player coming in now, so we're going to see another little 1v1. Now bear in mind we did start this at half HP and had to trigger our heal before the fight even started. So we're up against a Mesmer. Triggering these regenerations on ourselves, just keeping up vigour, meaning we've got a lot more dodges and stuff. We've also got 50% dodge increase as one of our trait lines, one of the minor traits. So that's also quite helpful for us, of course, because it just means we can dodge a bit more. So they've given up the fight very quickly and have run on towards the henge. Natural regeneration kicking in there, things are out of combat for a moment. Getting up here, summoning up our Stone Spirit before we engage in combat. That's a very important thing to really be trying to do. You don't want to have to stop combat to try and summon it back up if you can avoid it. So we've got 2 players on us now, I believe. I think it's the Elementalist and that Mesmer, and you can just see how easily we're tanking them. We've got all our dodges still intact. We're not having to dodge too much. Obviously, as I say that, we do dodge a couple of times, but you can see how quickly it does recharge. It's easy to making it nice and easy for us to move about. Hitting Protect Me there. Obviously Protect Me is great because you can actually trigger it 6 seconds before your heal comes up to give yourself time to wait for that. So our heals come up, then we're going to be able to stay in the circle for that and try and keep ourselves alive a bit using that healing regeneration, waiting for our X skill to come up, so the elite skill. If we need to trigger that now, we've got a nice security blanket there. Trying to get it off there, but we've got interrupted. And there it is. So an interesting point about the elite skill, I'm not actually sure whether we cover it in this game if you actually get to see it. There's a really good trick you can use. Basically, when you trigger the elite skills, actually, it's skill when it's up. So what you can see currently on our 10th skill slot, that will rally any downed allies, but it takes about 3-4 seconds or so for it to channel and land. So what you can actually do is if you're about to go down into the down state, you can trigger it just beforehand. As you go down, you'll instantly rally back up because it will hit the ground and then bring yourself back up onto your feet. So that's a fantastic trick and something to really bear in mind if you do run some sort of spirit-based build. So you saw us coming back out there, and they've already learnt to just ignore us, and tragically now we get swapped teams, which is a little bit unfortunate. The blue team are now very close to winning, and we've been swapped onto the red team, but you managed to basically see a general gist of what this build is all about. So now we're going to try and pull it back for the blue team, but we put all that effort into the try and pull it back for the red team, but we put a lot of effort into the blues, and it doesn't look like they are going to take the victory. But of course, these games aren't really about seeing what's going on with the actual match itself. It's about just seeing this player's individual gameplay and how it works. In this case, it happens to be mine. So we're just generally duking out now against this warrior. It's kind of a waste of time, really. We're not really leading. We're just giving our teammate the advantage there, but we're kind of a waste. It means really be neutralising the henge very quickly and trying to cap those points. So that's an interesting point to make as well. You can use the number 3 skill swoop to move around the map a bit quicker. Obviously puts you at a fairly solid advantage. And whenever you're in a fight, you want to try and kite around as much as you can. Try to stay behind your pet as well if you're fighting someone who uses projectiles. Coming up here now onto the keep, we've got a 1v1 against a thief. So you're going to see now how tanky this build really is. So he's dealing hardly any damage to us. He's already had to pop a stealth skill. Popping our healing skill there, we're actually on fairly high HP, you probably noticed. But obviously it just gives us the vigour, and the natural regeneration gives a lot of the healing with this build. So since we have joined the red team, they do seem to be actually doing quite well. They haven't really lost any points. The henge is up for contention. They seem to have taken it. But they've been doing fairly well since we joined them, actually, sort of bringing the match back a little bit. So we've got a fight now against that thief has come back around. While in defence there, sending his projectiles right back at him. We've also applied some blindness and bleeding to him. Something to bear in mind, of course, if you are playing a build like this, the while in defence is great. Should probably have saved it, unfortunately, if another player arrived there. What we could really have still done with the while in defence to block his projectiles. But he's now come down, which is a bit of a foolish move for him. He could really have done with staying up on top and just DDing us from up there. Both players are down with us now, but we're just sort of tanking them fairly well. This build, like I said, does have a hell of a lot of toughness, and the healing, of course, helps as well. Keeping up regeneration a lot of the time, because, of course, we get regeneration every time we get bled and things like that as well. So we've got a near constant regen on the character. So again, we're just fighting those two players. Unfortunately there they do manage to bring us down. Looks like they're going to take the victory as well. But yeah, you basically got to see how this build works for this game. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.